Small wins. I have been absolutely hammering my online and offline networking this last year. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Sully, a brand strategist, designer, and founder of Snapper Studio. And I'm on a mission to help you gain clarity and confidence in your brand. I'll arm you with bite-sized tips and introduce you to friends of the show who are taking their brand to the next level. For a lot of you will have found this podcast through LinkedIn. Don't want to describe myself as a prolific poster, but I've upped my engagement, and obviously the reflection is an increasing people connecting with me, and I'm obviously open to connecting. So if you are listening to this podcast and you found it via LinkedIn, just reach out. I'm an open book, and actually I love the questions that you guys bring to me. That's one of the reasons why I actually want to give back and to be able to show people that branding doesn't need to be this confusing thing. I will try and simplify things if you don't understand it. That's kind of my goal. That's my mission, is to help people. So yeah, been hammering at and the reason why I've been concentrating so much on it is because I'm trying to build a personal brand. I've got goals and things I want to do where I can then step into things like speaking gigs. I would love to bring some of my views about branding and about building a business to bigger audiences. And I actually had a clairvoyant reach out to me and say that actually when I had a chat to her, she actually saw that I was set to do, and she expected me to do some bigger things. Like, the audience that I currently have is like the starting point, but things are going to get bigger. And I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily want to I don't want to speak to thousands and be overwhelmed by messages, but I love talking and raising sort of questions and sort of giving people a little bit of a poke every now and again where they want to have a think about things. When someone focuses purely on building their brand online, and by this I specifically mean social media, we talked about this a little bit on the last episode, you're taking a risk. And the platforms, they can change the algorithm or poof, disappear completely overnight. Your main goal should be to drag them off social media into your emails, or this is going to feel a bit icky for some people, to actually have real life conversations with real life actual people. Because the one thing you can do is you can learn so much. Now, obviously, one of the things that I do when I'm working with a new brand, we need to research and find out as much about their current customers as we physically can. Now, one of the ways we can do this is obviously to actually pick up a phone and actually talk to them. Going back to those real life conversations you have with people, it's part of the reason I actually began a networking group. So in my hometown of Newcastle in Australia, I have been, putting together this networking group. It's called Chatterbox. And so if you're local to Newcastle, and obviously not a lot of my people are all around the world, it's an opportunity for businesses, small, medium, and large to pull away their best talent and kind of, get the right appropriate people to kind of come together to chat through problems. Now, we have a real mix of businesses that come. And that's not through design, that's just purely organic. A lot of it has been driven by social media networks. We haven't got a website. We have a 3-pronged social media attack that basically focuses on 2 distinct target markets. One of them is Instagram. So from Instagram, we get a huge amount of very creative businesses that come from it that all have specific, unique things that they do. So whether it's photography, business management, obviously that doesn't seem very creative, but some of the conversations that they would have would be starting to pull in people from lots of different creative fields. We have designers. I mentioned photographers, illustrators. It's hard to find illustrators because not every graphic designer concentrates on illustration. Other people that you might get involved are obviously videographers, production houses, people that can do very high-end, good quality videography work. So that's one side of, the target market. On the other end is more professional services, and obviously we reach out to them. I have conversations with them on LinkedIn and introduce them to the whole idea of Chatterbox, and just purely by word of mouth, we have grown and we are still growing. And going back to the reason why this isn't the most important part, it's about giving people access, helping them to be comfortable with networking. And for me, that is a small win in itself. If people become more comfortable talking about their business, it makes content less scary. And how many people find content problematic? I have conversations with people all the time, just, how do you keep on top of it? How do I maintain consistency? How do I, XYZ, I'm too busy. I'm, trying to find ways around it and trying to find ways that I can do it. Do you know what? I've not perfected it. I think it's really hard to perfect it if you're a small business owner and it is just you. And don't worry, you don't have to perfect it. Your content doesn't need to be highly polished. It's gonna, depending on your industry, behind the scenes stuff can be fantastic. For certain industries, putting out content that isn't quite as polished may not send out the right message. So you have to kind of weigh up doing something versus, is it going to be fit for purpose, and is it going to devalue the business or the brand? But yeah, there's not many business owners that I know, or people who are comfortable actually in front of camera. People that are building personal brands, very few of them find comfort being in front of the camera. I have trained myself to be more comfortable, but there's still discomfort. But it's become a necessary part of building a personal brand and building a business. It's the reason why I push myself to bring back the podcast. For a start, it's great content. And now that I've started getting guests in, opportunities, and people have been reaching out to me to come on as a guest. That's something that I didn't expect before. and I didn't see before I started inviting guests in, because people didn't see the value. Obviously, it was for the first 10 to 12 episodes, it was me talking on my own. Amazing. You can kind of get to know me. People said afterwards, they were like, I've never listened to a podcast before, and actually heard the person laugh to themselves about things that they were saying. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that makes me a little bit weird, but hey ho. Yeah, so that's the reason I wanted to bring the podcast back. Now, the conversations I have with people are so important to help me refine my process, get a little bit more comfortable, and hopefully do a better job. So, a guest of mine recently listened back to their episode, and if you've ever been on a podcast, I like one of the weirdest things to do is to listen to it back. And obviously I've got fairly comfortable with this now, because after I recorded this one, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to edit. I'm going to get it ready to go, get it uploaded onto the podcast house and blah, blah, blah. You guys will see it, minus all the bits where I mess up. Yeah, but the guest basically said, okay, just dial back the upfront bits. So if it's you working through it, trying to sell something, trying to engage people to jump on your website, that sort of stuff, just get into it. Don't bore people, entertain. And stupidly, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That is like the number one reason that we do anything. It's not like, for me, the one thing I don't want to do is bore people and waste people's time. I definitely want to entertain and simplify. If I can do it, entertain and simplify the branding process in the meantime, that is incredible. So on that note, I'm not going to try and sell you anything, but I do want you to go on to wherever you listen to the podcast and drop a little review, because it helps the podcast grow, gives me things to work on, like feedback. I need the feedback. I want to make it better and make it more approachable. So thanks for listening. Bye.